How you doing, TP? Hey, Christopher, Bartek. How you both doing? That's where we are so far. I'm going to move over to the shaping wheel. I finished this pipe a little bit earlier. I've just got a little bit of buffing to do, but a really nice sort of a hybrid between a billiard and a volcano. Hey Mark, how you doing? Right, so this is how it looks at the moment. So you've got some sort of, you can see some curves over here, and I've got some copper bands there, which I think will look very nice contrast with this Zebrano band. And I'll be doing a video of this one soon. I finished this one up this morning. A little bit of buffing to do on the stem, but I just did the stem work. This is just a classic, good smoking machine, this one. Got a good sort of beefy shank, lovely grain. And a very nice contrast stain. It's like really golden and fiery, so I'm looking forward to finishing that one off. You bought the 2023 Pipe Club of London pipe, Mario? Ciao. The 2023 is a is it the 23 or 22? Anyway, it's made by Nirup, Peter Jepson. Peter Jepson. Oh, is it the 2023? So the last one I think I got was the Vaughan, so that must have been 2022. Yeah, I got an email from John already. I need to get in touch with him and pay for it. Hey, Jack. Good afternoon, Alex. St. Bernard flake. Don't think I've had that. Who makes it? It's not St. Bruno you're talking about. Who makes that St. Bernard? Is that a German blend? Dan Tobaccos. Yeah, that's German. Thought so. Yeah, it's interesting how some blends make it to other countries and some don't. At the moment, I'm just creating this contour here to give it a bit of a blowfish. It's not a classic blowfish, it's my take, but you know, you look at there, you see that half. I've done similar ones to this before, and they're really nice. And I really like the effect of these copper bands with the Zebrano. It's just a great contrast. Hey Boris, how you doing? How you feeling? You better? You went quite a few weeks being unwell. Haven't seen you for a while. Well, there's a couple of customers waiting on stuff from me, and I think part of the problem is that the website's not being updated regularly, so people are a bit in limbo. I mean, the stuff's getting there. I mean, I'm not worried about stuff not being delivered. It's just not being updated in a timely fashion. And to be honest, I think it's really giving Royal Mail a really bad name. And it's just adding fuel to the fire of all the other private courier companies. And I'm sure they're rubbing their hands with glee. If you just look at that profile there, that side profile, I'm really liking the way that looks. So it's kind of like a stepped all the way up there. A hawkbill with a twist. James gave away one of my pipes. That's generous. Which one was that? Pipe 605. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that's a nice pipe. It's a very nice pipe. I don't remember whether he bought it or whether I gave it or whether he won it. I can't remember anymore. That's the shape on that is beautiful. Lovely briar, nice green. There, that's the pipe there. I mean, getting that bend was the biggest challenge on that pipe. Bear in mind it's 9mm. So you imagine the mortise going up in that direction, but the draft hole has to go in that direction. So that was a challenging pipe to make, I remember it. But a really, really nice pipe. Congratulations on getting that, and very, very generous of James. Yeah, that's the problem. I think a lot of the issue is that the websites aren't being updated, so the tracking information is not on point. But I've had some parcels being delivered in great timing, so I'm really not really that worried. And hopefully, once the strike situation is resolved, they'll get all of that sorted and get back up to date. You have to remember with the hawkbill, it's 9mm is one of the most challenging. Hawkbill is one of the most challenging 9mm shapes that you can make. In fact, most of the manufacturers won't make a 9mm hawkbill, and the ones that do, it's just nodding their head to a hawkbill shape. It's not a real hawkbill shape. I did one for Patrick, which even that wasn't completely like a hawkbill, but it was the closest that you're going to get. Because with the hawkbill, because the mortise, you know, goes quite deep. The thing with the hawkbill is that the curve starts immediately from the shank. That's the whole thing of a hawkbill. It starts straight away, and therefore, so when and it goes up at quite almost a full bend, but not quite, and then it curves at the top. So when it curves at the top, you've got nowhere for the mortise to go, because the mortise has to be drilled straight, and it's only the draft hole that you do at an angle, and the mortise has to be done at the angle that the shank is taking. But the problem is the shank is curving immediately from the stem. That's the problem. So you have to reduce that gradient just enough so that you can drill the mortise, but without losing the shape of the hawkbill. So it's you know, you got to strike a balance. Excuse me just a sec. Hello. Huh? Had a very rough night last night. I went to bed a little bit earlier than I normally do. I think I was in bed by about 2:30. Well, not really earlier, but I was up after a few hours. Had a very unsettled sleep. Don't know why. There you go. See you, Jack. Have a good one. we've got like a double groove there, which just gives it a nice little flare. That's going to be rusticated either with a carve blast or with a razor carving, just to give it a complete contrast on one side. This side will be smooth, hopefully some nice bird's eye, cross grain running along the bottom, and a smooth rim. Hopefully it will be nice. Let's get an idea of the weight. Feels like about 45, 44. Excuse me once again.
Someone is at the front door.
Hello. Hello, Chloe. Just live, okay? I'm in front. Just bear with me. Well, I'm no great expert on the different types of tobaccos, but burleys generally are used very often for as a base tobacco, especially for aromatic blends. They tend to be quite strong in nicotine. Not always, but they can be. The way they harvest it with burley plants, often they'll cut off any offshoots on the plants so that the main central plant grows stronger, and then you get the concentration of nicotine in those leaves that remain. Kentucky is generally more of a spicy kind of tobacco, presumably grown into Kentucky. But like I say, I'm no expert. The best thing to do is to Google it, actually, because people will tell you lots of different things. Can you get me the airspray? Thank you.
Cool. Piece of little.
Yeah, that's going to get masticated.
Very cool pipe.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time. Arthur, how you doing? Especially now, the mail is going to be slower. Nothing really you can do about that, but it will get there, I'm sure. When you're working with detail work like that, the amount of sanding that goes into it is just ridiculous. Hey John, tired, but otherwise alright. Not a very good night's sleep, unfortunately. I mean, I was in bed, but I just wasn't sleeping very well. A very disturbed sleep. I'm not a fan of the Italian cigars, I must be honest. The what's that? Nostrano, is that what it's called? When I was in Venice, I did buy some to try, but I didn't like them. It's not my bag. Toscanos, that's the one, not Nostrano. Close enough. Toscano. I will actually be, all being well, I will be in Italy next week. I'm going with the wife for a couple of days, beginning of next week. I'm going to Rome for the first time, never been there before. It's one of the reasons why I did the pipe sale, trying to raise some spending money. Maybe get some cigars, maybe some pipe tobacco. Maybe even a pipe. Yes, that's right, that's what the Italians do. They're tapered at both ends, and people cut them in half in Toscanos. I bought a bunch of them back when I went, and I ended up giving them away. I'm not even sure if I should rusticate it. So I'll give it a quick blast with a bit of compound just to get an idea, because there's a little bit of darkness in the compound, so you can get a good idea of what the grain's going to look like. You can wet it as well, but I find it easier like this. It also highlights areas which are scratched and need to be sanded still. So but I wanted to see how this bit looked together with that. I'm imagining that rusticated maybe in a black colour. See, at the moment, this area here, this scalloping here, it just follows a theme. So you've got 1, 2, 3. So this whole area here is like an enlarged area of these. If I rusticate that, it kind of separates it out, and these don't make as much sense anymore. However, they do, because if you look at the side profile, you can see that carving, and that carving, and there's this whole side you can see has been profiled and shaped, compared to this side where it's a smooth round shape. So there is still meaning to the scalloping, but I think it possibly works better if it all stays smooth. In terms of the tenons, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of hand cut, but mostly tenons which I glue in. The chuck, I have about 4 different chucks from different places. And different chucks go with different lathes. Sometimes you have to get adapters, so you have to do the research really. But in terms of the tenons, I do supply the tenons. I have supplied the tenons to other pipe makers. If you're interested, let me know. Get in touch with me and I can supply them if you want. I can supply regular tenons, non-filtered. I can do 6mm, I can do 9mm. So whichever ones. I haven't got a huge stock at the moment, so I'd have to probably order more. But you let me know what you want and I can give you an idea of price. As long as you don't need them urgently. It might take a couple of weeks till I get them. Yeah, Vermont freehand is a very good place to go. My jaws, my first and second set of jaws, I think, came from Vermont freehands. You can get pretty much anything that you need from Vermont freehand. Not sure about chucks, but you can get briar chucks or jaws, strictly speaking. That they would be, because that you would fit into another chuck or into, if it's a metal lathe, it would go straight into the chuck that comes with the lathe. Yeah, raw crafted as well, but I don't know. I mean, supply is really hard. I think a lot of the raw crafted stuff comes from China, probably Vermont freehand as well. But I'm pretty sure that virtually all of the tooling that raw crafted has comes from China, and I suppose relations are there's tension now, and postage issues and COVID, which is rife in China at the moment, so they've probably got delays on getting supplies. It's kind of the problem with pipe making, is that the tooling is very, very niche, and some of the guys out there who have been making pipes for 20, 30, 40 years, the stuff that they've got is either legacy stuff from the old, especially the French factories, or they've had stuff made for them, and that's, you know, the situation for a lot of the old-timer pipe makers. Well, the independent pipe makers, I think the number is growing a lot. But I think in the next year or two you'll see some falling away. I hope I'm not amongst that number, but I must admit that I'm finding it really hard at the moment. Even though thankfully I'm selling quite well, but it's very hard to get enough revenue to live off. Very, very hard. I'm talking about for relatively new pipe makers. For old established companies, think everybody, I think, is going to find it hard, and I think it's going to get harder in the next year or two before it starts to get better. And the thing is that with the regulations tightening up in countries, new generations of pipe smokers, I think it's going to be harder to get new generations of pipe smokers because of the onslaught of smoking bans and the countries banning smoking from a certain age. So in this country, I think they're basically saying that anybody born from this and this date it'll be against the law for them to smoke. So essentially, anybody born after that whole sort of 2 or 3 generations will be allowed to carry on smoking because they've been smoking, and until sort of they shuffle off this mortal coil. But any new smokers will be illegal. So anybody born after a certain date within the last, say, 16 years, let's say, it will become illegal. I think that's the way they're planning on doing it. I think other countries have done that already, and they're slowly going to basically do away with smoking that way. So it might take 20, 30 years, but within 20 or 30 years they'll have no more new smokers out there, and then within, say, 40, 50 years, something like that, they'll pretty much have gotten rid of smoking off the face of the earth. Yeah, I mean, nobody's trying to say that smoking is good for you, but people have a choice. As long as they give people the choice to do other things, like soft drugs, alcohol, that kind of thing, then they shouldn't really be discriminating between different vices. If they're going to treat people like adults on certain things, then they should treat them like adults on other things too. I probably will end up rusticating this panel, but in order for it to be most effective, you still have to start off with a really, really nice, clean, smooth surface. So it's still important to sand it to a fairly good standard. And you'll see the finished product, you'll see what I mean. If you do like a C-rock rustication, then it's not as important. You still have to have a clean shape, but the rustication that I'll probably do on this is a razor rustication, what I call a razor rustication, which is a very, very, very fine carving, and it's like my Savinelli, but in a much finer cut. So this is the Savinelli I recently got. So, but the cut that I do is like 1/10 of the size of each cut. It's tiny compared to this. So you need to have a really nice clean surface before you do that in order for it to look nice. I mean, in terms of talking about the niche aspect of the trade, of the tooling, the fact that you have people making jaws specifically for pipe making, that's a good indication. I mean, that's an indication that people think that it's worth their while to make that because there'll be enough customers. So they're really good jaws. There's a Chinese guy who's making them. He's already onto the 3rd or the 4th version of it, and makes it better each time. Obviously gets feedback from pipe makers. He's a pipe maker himself, I think. I mean, he mostly does machining, but he also does all the drill bits. He does the bowl drill bits, all different shapes and sizes, you know, V shape, U shape, UV shape, anything and everything that you want, conical and all that kind of stuff. The fact that he's doing it, you know, he's making mortise and tenon drill bits that will cut your tenon and your mortise. The fact that he's doing that is a good indication that there is enough market for it. But I would say that anybody who's in the market to buy tooling should do so now. It's hard to find sometimes because they're out of stock everywhere, but do your utmost to buy it now, because I think that there will be a decline, and perhaps there won't be enough market for them to then carry on making that tooling. I think there will be a market for pipe making, but for people to do it part-time. So people who have a full-time job and to do that on the side, that's going to be the ideal way to go. So you're not under pressure to sell every single pipe, and you're not under pressure to make a living from the pipes. I'm still kind of halfway house with, you know, doing photography and this at the same time, but my photography is dwindling as I get older. So I'm relying more and more on the pipe making. A spade bit versus a standard Deming bit. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a Deming bit is. Or Deming or Deming. I started off on spade bits, did the job, but ultimately I would encourage you to use the thicker drill bits. If you contact me again, once again, if you contact me directly, I'll send you a link to an eBay sale page that sells what you want in terms of the drill bits. Have I considered repairing pipes? I've had so many people contact me with their issues with their pipes. Generally I turn and tell them to go to repair specialists. If it's one of my pipes, I'll do my best to repair them. And sometimes if it's a repair which is straightforward, I'll take it on. But complicated repairs, it's such a different skill set, and most definitely a completely different tool set. Very, very different. Working on a pipe that's already made versus working on a block of briar and forming it into a pipe. Two completely different skill sets. So people like George Dibos, I don't think he's around anymore, I'm not sure. But nowadays, if anybody contacts me, especially if they're in the States, I send them straight to Briarville. Always recommend them. They're a recognized company, and you know, you'll get your work done generally. Here in the UK, I would send them to Blake Mar Briars or Ian Walker, because these guys, they've got the right tools. Ian Walker's got a different kind of, but he started in repair. You know, he's traditional. You know, if you read up about the masters, the Danish masters, you'll read their history, and there were nearly all of them, except for maybe Bo Nord, but nearly all of them spent a lot of time in repairs. and that knowledge of how a pipe should be and how it should smoke and what makes it a good smoker has basically given them the ability to create better pipes. But their history is in repairs. Bernard is different because he had when he was young, he had a bike accident, a motorcycle accident, and he couldn't work anymore. He had worked in a bakery. He couldn't work anymore, and one day his wife bought him a kit block to play around with, and he did it, and he bought more kit blocks and more kit blocks. Eventually, obviously, he became a pipe maker. Well, Mark Tinsky is yeah. I mean, he's obviously got experience in repairs. He's somebody who's been at it for 30, 40 years, passing it on to his son now, which is I like to see that. Excuse me a sec. Yes. Anyway, it is a very, very different skill set. I'll give you a perfect example. Somebody sends you a pipe with a cracked shank, a very common problem, or a broken tenon. You've got to be able to mount that onto a lathe or onto a drill press somehow in such a precise way that when it drills it perfectly central. For that, you need to have some kind of structure which grips the shank, and it grips it tight and reliably, but also accurately. And if you have a look at the old pictures, if you have a look at my videos, for instance, of Blake Marbriers, you'll see these contraptions where you've got this kind of brace which has a little circular hole in it. It's two halves, and they have a clamp which clamps it all together, and the pipe stays still. And rather than the pipe spinning around, it's actually the drill that spins around, and they've got this sort of handle, the lever, which brings in the drill bit into the. It's a different kind of tool set. It's more reliable because it's fixed, and you can bring the drill bit up to it and actually see if it's going to be central or not. But it's not something for me to go out and get somebody to manufacture that for me. People don't make them anymore. If you look at videos of companies that have those machines are very, very old, and a lot of them will have come from France, and a lot of them will have been made here, because here and France were the two centers in the world for pipe making originally. But they are very, very different tool set. And as I say, the skill set is also very, very different. Alright, so that is essentially the shape. So I'm just gonna go up in grits. and then I'll do that rustication, stain it, and while that stain is taking its soaking into the briar, I'll work on the stem and finish that off. So there we are. So I'm going to go, what was that, have I done 320? I think I have, yeah. So we'll step up to 400. What are you making your tampers out of, John? Are you using briar? Yeah, high-grade pipe repair and restoration. Isn't that George DeBoss? If he's still around, that's cool. I don't know, for some reason I thought he'd passed on, but he's an unbelievably skilled man. And the proof of it is, when he does a pipe repair, it's not like me where I'll sit and work on it for an hour and that's it, it's done. He takes it apart and you'll end up doing one simple repair and there might be 10 or 15 videos of the process. It's remarkably detailed, remarkably skilled. He's an exceptional repairman, but he doesn't make pipes. He won't make pipes. He absolutely specializes in pipe repairs, and as I say, it's a completely different skill set. $30 to $110-year-old steel. Does aged steel have any different property to new steel? Or are they just making use of old steel, repurposing it, saving the planet? Because I'm all for that. Is there a reason to use old steel? Same but older, weathered and steel is emerging natural rustication and texture. You usually wear bar brushed up your chrome. So it's the patina that you're after. I get it. Oh, nice. I like that. Using stuff which is on your farmland, it's great. Using resources which are already existing and not having to create something out of something new. I'm all for that. And it's nice doing a tamper. I've never really gotten into tampers. I've made a few, but I kind of focus everything on pipe making. But the people who do make sets, I think they're very nice. Reminds me of a pipe set that I had before I went over to filtered pipes by Scott Hudson, which was a beautiful billiard and tamper set. And I would never have sold that had it not been a non-filtered pipe. I don't know if he still makes pipes. He's a really good pipe maker. Kind of specialised in billiards, like sort of Jake Hackett style billiards, you know, the straight, sort of completely straight ball, but in a much more sort of dainty kind of refined way. So that kind, you know, the straight without the rounded sort of shape on the ball. But he did a beautiful job. This one I made yesterday, but I haven't bothered carrying on because I've drilled it too high. I will finish it at some point and sell it as a seconds probably. It'll be perfectly smokable, but it is drilled high. Yeah, so I will finish it. I'm not sure how I'll finish it, whether it'll be smooth or rusticated, maybe a carved last. We'll see whenever I fancy messing around with it. It still needs the fine sanding. The shaping and everything is basically done, which is a shame because it's a very nice proportioned pipe. But as I say, it's just a shame that it's drilled a bit high. That's life. Fence personnel, some of a metal, basically, but nice way to then set to work as standard and safe, effective. Yeah, exactly. Removers. Yeah, that's great, John. And that's fantastic. You can never have too many tampers. You know, I'm sitting here at my desk. I've usually got 2 tampers or 3 tampers on the desk, and when I'm smoking a pipe and I need one, I can never find them. I was looking for this one earlier, and it was tucked away. It's one that James made for me, and I couldn't find that before. It was very thoughtful of him. He actually made that with Jerusalem olive wood inside that epoxy, which was very cool.
Hello. That was so stressful.
Why?
Traffic, cuckoo.
Yeah.
Going up, so I didn't realise I didn't have time to drop off Ellie. So going what?
It's perfume.
What?
Perfume.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not try that?
Yeah.
Trying to get up Hens and Maids to pick up roughly. It was past 4:15 appointments at 4:50. It was all part of primary traffic. It wasn't moving, and I was getting so stressed. And then I was getting later and later.
How was the dentist?
Hang on, I'll tell you.
I don't need the
No,
story.
you need the story. You have to listen. And
Jeez.
it's online. My appointment's at 4:50. They closed at 5. I thought, great, there's no one going to make it, so I called them up. I said, I'm supposed to be that much on it.
My eyes have glazed over.
What?
My eyes have glazed over. Can we hear the punchline? What happened with the dentist?
Basically, she told them off. She said it was 5 months ago. I wanted to see an improvement, and there's no improvement. She talked about the one that's hurting. Doesn't have an abscess, but it's completely decayed. There's a hole there, and the nerve is decayed as well.
So it's got to have it out.
She showed me on it. Took an X-ray. I've never seen it before. So his tooth is there. And there's a whole proper new tooth underneath already.
Oh, so it's a milk
Wait!
tooth.
So it's quite cool. So I said, so does that mean it's going to fall out soon? Because I thought there was a... Wait! I know that Avi is completely different and he wouldn't pull a tooth out. So I was trying to...
Yeah, he would if it's a milk tooth.
Avi?
Yeah,
He
if
didn't
it's a
pull it
milk
out.
tooth.
Remember she kept getting his abscess? He didn't pull it out.
A milk tooth?
Yes.
It's only to spare her, probably.
That's why we took Eddie to Avi. She referred him to a hospital to pull it out.
Yeah.
And we went to Avi because I thought she was the worst person to pull it out. And so I was questioning her because I thought, you know what, I'm going to get around that. There must be another way. I said, she said, well, does that mean it's going to be growing out soon? She said, it's falling out because there's another one there already. So she says up to a year. She said, I can't tell you when it's going to happen. But it's either you leave it and either we pull it out. I said, can you not just fill it a while? So she says, no, because stuff needs to come out from somewhere to the... I can't think what she was saying, but I know what she was saying. Or just leave it and see what happens. If it gets into a lot of pain, then I can give you antibiotics. It flares up, give you antibiotics, see what happens, and you can try and leave it or have it out. I'm talking! I said, wait! So I thought, I don't want you to have a tooth out, you know? So she said, no, no, tooth out, I'm trying to do it. I thought, no, I'm not doing that, because I'm used to things. So basically, she's given her real what she deserved.
Who was it?
It was extra. One of the problems like punch like all this. Then, giving her another punch. She said at the bottom teeth, she said the completely clogged up with slack.
Did she clean him?
And she had both of them. She said, come in 3 months' time and I'll have a look at and clean them. I thought, after so much, we can clean them.
Probably hasn't got room.
What?
Probably hasn't got a space in the diary.
She does. She's not as much as my father. The father is what you can't get to the point. So, I have to help me whenever you remember. Morning and night, they've got to extend myself. You know what? They've got brand new teeth and they're really good at orange. Funny as well.
Okay. What's the supper? Oh, when?
Let me just come have this.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
I'm going to make it in a minute. I'll shake her down to the toilet if that's alright.
On this
And
occasion.
then I'll carry on.
Okie dokie. Ta-ta. Right, full report. You all heard it. Christopher. I smoked this Gurkha last night. I did a video of it, and there was about an inch and a half left. I smoked a little bit of it before, but basically had it wouldn't stay alight, so I've left it. So far today, I had a bowl of OGS this morning at around 9 o'clock, and about half an inch of that cigar. That's all I've had today. You also a pipe maker, Christopher? I had a visit from my son, my 27-year-old. He's just been to Las Vegas, and he very generously brought me back some cigars. So if you see the Gurkha video at the beginning of it, I showed the cigars. He bought them at Caesar's Palace. There's a tobacconist in there. Right, 600. Perhaps I'll join you. Oh, that's Briar. I had some crumbs left from this morning on the tray, so I thought I'd mix them in because they'd have been dried out by now, being left out. But I actually had the tobacco tray next to the lathe, so there was some briar bits on there. So I thought, well, I'll just chuck it out. I'm not messing around separating it all. The Alex, it gets used every day. You know what, I'll carry on breaking in this thing. really interesting how a new pipe, you get a bit of tongue bite and a bit of a different taste. And once you've broken it in, the pipe absorbs, seems to absorb some of that moisture. It's the only time I get tongue bite, even with a filter. It's not tongue bite as such, it's just a little tingle on the tongue, but with a well broken in pipe, I don't get any tongue bite at all. Pipe 700. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. I mean, this would be quite a suitable pipe because I think it's going to be a really special pipe, this one. A really nice pipe, but in a small sort of compact package. So very, very eminently smokable. You know, a lot of times when you have really fancy pipes, they're often on the larger side. But this one is a normal sort of average size, possibly even a little bit smaller than average. So very smokable. You refurbish. Cool. That's really cool. You look at people like Bishop's Pipes, you know, he refurbishes pipes and sells them. He's got a very popular Instagram page where he sells his pipes. I think he's on Etsy as well, I think. Excuse me.
Hello.
Hello,
How are you?
how was school?
Good.
Why?
Good school. Good.
Was it?
Yes.
That's not good.
On Wednesday, we need to go to school dressed as an adjective.
Oh, that's next Wednesday.
So Mummy said I should be angry. And I should like have face paint as angry eyes.
Ooh. That's interesting. Well, you could be happy, you can be a clown.
But it has to be a girl already asked that in my class and she said you can't ask me actually like this. If you're a bit shy, you have to look shy. Or if you look cool, you have to go to school in gloves or things. I thought the whole school's doing it and the winner gets like a bike or a scooter or something.
What, the winner?
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's go. Where's unique?
Good.
I don't know what I should do.
Think about it.
Well, we didn't give me a few suggestions.
Alright, well, we'll talk about it. What's up when I come back for supper, okay? Of course you can. But can I have anything on the other side or not? No.
Yeah, okay.
You need to make notes. Okay, pleasure. See you soon. little tip for you budding pipe makers out there. When you're sanding a pipe, you run your hands around the pipe, you might find some very small peaks and troughs, little ridges, and you might find that the more you sand it, the worse it gets. And the trick is, it took me a while to realize it, the trick is not to sand like this. I mean, you do that as well, but initially, in order to get the consistency around, you do it top to bottom like that. And when, as you're doing it, you just turn it a minuscule each time. You know, sand and then turn it a drop, turn it again a drop, turn it again a drop, and again, and you're just going all the way around. So you're getting very slight movements, but the upward strokes you're doing 3 or 4 up and down strokes before you move each time, and then you just move it a minuscule, so then you don't get ridges. And then afterwards you can do the round motion, which just to generally improve the smoothness, but initially top to bottom, and that's what gets rid of those ridges. As you get near the shank, you'll have to turn it over because you can't get your hand around that, so you go from bottom to top. You've always got to be careful not to ruin the rim line, but other than that, you know, that just comes with practice and the angle that you hold the sandpaper. Oh, great, Boris. I thought it was an amazing pipe. It's true, you know, a lot of times the beauty of a pipe doesn't come through in the pictures or in the video. And, you know, sometimes it's when you hold it, the feel of it, and you get to really see close up the different angles and different surfaces and the transitions, whether it's a smooth pipe, the smooth transitions from shank to bowl and to stem and all of that kind of thing. It's just, sometimes you just got to feel the pipe to really appreciate the different styles of a pipe and the beauty of a pipe, how well a pipe is made, all of that kind of thing. Now that I've done that up and down, I can go around and round and just improve on the actual smoothness of the pipe. Just keep, because it's already consistent beneath it, you can then go round and round and just keep going, so that you're just making it smoother and smoother until you feel that you've really utilized that grit number to the max, and then you go up to the next grit. Yeah, unless you, I mean, obviously your style is your style. You do as you see fit. But unless you're intending to have a ridged pipe, like a scalloped or a panelled pipe, when that gets into somebody else's hands, they're not going to feel intended, you know, unless they're very obvious and visible. If they're not visible and they're there, that's just going to be somebody saying, this guy hasn't sanded the pipe properly. Just being honest with you, that's how it'll be, even though you might have intended it. But people perceive things differently. I remember, I mean, that's the problem as well, when you go on social media, you put some pictures up on, say, Instagram or Facebook. People will make a decision about your work, regardless of what your intention is. I remember I once did a pipe which had a flared shank, so it was thinner at the joint and it flared out all the way up to the stem. And one of the guys commented, a lot of the time it's people who have, you know, either making pipes and they're just jealous that you're making pipes, or they just want to knock you down for the sake of it. And he said, oh, I can see that you had a mess up at the shank junction, so you've done that. I said, no, that was actually an intended part of the design of the pipe. And, you know, people just like to rip you down. You know, that's just par for the course. If you're going to put yourself out on social media, you got to have a thick skin. And there's plenty of times when I have gone too far on that transition and it's too thin, so you have to make it look intended by exaggerating that thinness and then sort of fanning out. But you know, sometimes you just go too far. When you're making this, when you're doing the junction, that's one of the biggest challenges in pipe making. Is the shank bowl junction is the sort of challenge, I think, in terms of shaping. So you have some people who will do a very, very pronounced, so they'll almost cut it right up to the bowl, and then the bowl is going to come out in a bulbous kind of way, a very pronounced way, whereas I do a more of a staggered, more of a smooth transition. But you still want to be able to see that curve, so you have to do enough of a transition there to see the curve, but at the same time to make it a smooth transition. So that is something which comes with time. You know, that's there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to, you got to put in the time. And I still don't get it right every time. Human being, you know. But like everything, practice makes perfect. And like I said in one of my videos on my one of my morning drives recently, the idea of practice is that, you know, you are a human being, but by practicing, the more you practice, the higher percentage of your pipes will come out how you intend. You're always going to have some pipes which don't come out like you originally intended. Now, I'm not talking about when there's a flaw in the pipe. I'm talking about your application just isn't on point for whatever reason. It just goes like that sometimes, you know, especially, you know, you might, a lot of this comes from muscle memory, and it could just be that you went one sweep of the shaping wheel too far, and that's it. You've screwed the shape of the original intention of the shape of the pipe, and there's no return. You can't add the briar back, so you have to rethink it. But at the end of the day, practice, like with everything in life, practice makes perfect. And as like I say, like, you won't be infallible, but you will increase the percentage of pipes that work out as you intended. Hey, Dorian. And to prove that point, you have a look at, for instance, somebody like Nana Everson. So she's very, very strict about her shaping, and she's got a huge basket full of stummels. Some of them look like finished pipes, but she won't sell them because there's, so okay, some of it, a lot of them will be due to flaws in the briar, but a lot of it is because she's for some reason not happy with it, and with something that she's done. And so everybody makes those mistakes. A lot of times you might have a pipe like this one here, which I drilled high, where the pipe can be finished, you know, but because your time is of the essence, you want to make money out of your time. So for me to spend time finishing that, and I'd only be able to sell it for, say, half the value, I'd much rather use my time and make a pipe that I'll be able to sell at normal price, you know. Right, I've just been summoned. Soup is on the table. So guys, thanks very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon's session. I'm not doing as many lives as I used to, so it's nice to be able to spend some time with you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I wish you all well. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one. Boris, really good to see you. I hope you're well. And enjoy that pipe. Please post some pictures with that pipe and let me know how it smokes. All the best, everybody. Catch you on the next one.